Hey guys, how's it going? ItZMuRdA here. I wanted to talk to you guys about a video I wanted to make yesterday, but I've been pretty busy the past couple of days, so I apologize about that. The next 4 days or so, today, Thursday, and into the weekend, I should have a lot more free time, so you'll be seeing the stream up a lot more and things like that. And Malorn made a really awesome giant post, which I love. I love when devs or people who make posts that I want to read make really long posts, so I'm probably in the minority there, but I enjoy it when they take the care and the effort to put all of that information down for us to read. It really doesn't take that long, so I don't know why people complain. But that aside, it's about the World Domination Series preseason and the upcoming changes both to the preseason and preparing for the actual series after the preseason. I think a lot of this stuff is talking about what they want to do for the series in general and what they're going to learn from the preseason. But it seems like a handful of it will be implemented during the preseason as well. So maybe next week or the week after. I would assume that it would happen after a week break. So when week 2 ends, you'd see the change, or when week 3 ends, you'd see the change, so as to not skew the results midweek. But anyway, this is what's going on. I'm going to read through some of it with you guys. I'll share the post with you. There's also been a lot of replies to this thread and a lot of decent suggestions from players as well. So I recommend you actually go to like the SOE post tracker or whatever and look through the replies in addition to just the original post. But I'll go through the original post with you guys and kind of highlight what they've got planned. There's really major changes coming to it, and I think everybody's more or less pretty happy with it. So as far as the concerns that we've been raising, like in the video that I made recently about it, and I think on Monday, as well as posts and things like that that other people have been making, there's a lot of changes that we'll be seeing both in the long haul on the regular World Domination Series, as well as some coming in the preseason as well. So there is the population concerns, probably number one, and they're going to simply be changing the scoring to scale with enemy population on a per continent and per empire basis, basically giving the underdogs or the underpopulated empire the opportunity to earn more points for the same thing that the overpopped empire is doing. So that flat out I think is an improvement. Here's the other thing that was probably most talked about that I mentioned on Monday as well, the geographical imbalance, or basically the warp gates, and they said that they'll be rotating them in a upcoming hotfix pretty soon, and may do additional rotations during the event. And then for the future seasons after the preseason, they'll have like a scheduled rotation to ensure fairness. So I think that's great. I think that that's something that's needed, just like you have mirror matches where one team will attack and defend, and then the other team will defend that attacked first. In like competitive matches, or you flip sides on like the Nexus, for instance, like they did on Community Clash last night. So I think that that's really important, and I'm glad to see that. There's also going to be I don't want to say a penalty for empire hopping, but maybe that's what it is, where there's a participation requirement similar to the alerts, where they might also be scaling the rewards in future seasons so that it rewards empire loyalty, but it'll also be it's sounding harder than just logging in for 2 minutes on the winning empire. But we'll see exactly what they do with that. It's not very clear. I think that that's fine. Even though I regularly play all 3 empires, I'll probably still meet the cut since I play them pretty equally. And I'm glad that they're not taking any like really major measures to restrict empire hopping, but are instead trying to reward it through participation scaling like they do with alerts. I think that that's the way to go, if anything, so I'm fine with that. Here's another one that a lot of people had mentioned. Off-peak times, or just going to Amerish when nobody's there, ghost capping, things like that. And basically they're saying that full continents are going to be worth a lot more. The points that you can earn there in empty continents will be worth much less. It also means that during peak time there will be more points at stake rather than in the middle of the night or whatnot. But I also think that that's a good change, because the empires that tend to have the most population can get up to 45-50% population on the server in the middle of the night, and it's probably for the better that they don't just cap the whole world and without any resistance really, and get the same amount of credit for it. This one's interesting and something I didn't think of or didn't really hear much about, but they're going to be adding bonuses when you're taking territories from the empire with the highest score, in order to try to keep it competitive and give the underdogs or the losing empires a real means of making a comeback, getting back into first place, or just improving their score overall. So I think that's pretty cool. More incentive. A lot of people have been saying, attack the TR. Because they've been having such an advantage the past week and a half, but this is actually going to be a real incentive to attack them rather than just saying it. So, or any empire as other empire shifts, because I believe that these changes are enough to actually see a major difference. It's not going to continue that just the trend where TR is winning, 40% or so. So I think we'll see a lot of changes with all of these put together. There's also going to be kind of incentive for holding your territory longer, and giving you reasons to both attack enemy territories that they've had for hours and hours and hours, and to defend territories that you've held for hours and hours and hours. They don't say exactly how, but it's basically just going to increase in value the longer you hold it. There's going to be UI elements, which is something else that I added. I don't think the average player even knows that the World Domination Series is going on, because there's nothing in the UI like alerts to tell them that or anything like that. So they're going to be adding it to the tab screen, as well as tooltips on maps and things like that, both for players who know what's going on to give you an idea of what territories to go for, what's worth what, as well as players who didn't even know the event was happening. Will now be like, oh, what's this? And they'll maybe get involved or ask a friend or something like that, and I think that'll definitely help the efforts as well. This server versus global rewards, they said that they don't have any plans to do this during the preseason, but for future seasons they're considering more rewards based on your empire's performance on your server. A lot of people were, saying, forget the global, we're happy that X empire is doing good on Y server or something like that. And there's a lot of like server rivalries and things like that within a specific server, and it looks like they want to reward that a little bit more, so that even if you don't necessarily win the global, if you happen to win your server, you actually get something for it, rather than losing because reasons X, Y, and Z on other servers where opposing empires are dominant. So with all of those changes that will be coming up, there is also a lot of changes to scoring. And this is what led me to believe that I think that they're probably going to do it in between weeks, or in between seasons in some cases, because the point system is going to change quite a lot. The point values are being increased by a factor of 10. So small outposts, large outposts, and major facilities are going to be 10, 20, and 50 points for capture, respectively, and 20, 30, and 40 points per hour held, respectively. It's easy for a number of reasons. For one, it kind of, they don't mention it here, but I feel like it kind of nullifies the previous week or two, because you're essentially getting 10 more points, or 10 times as many points for what you're doing. So on the scale of the entire preseason, all 5 weeks, I imagine that these weeks are going to matter most after the changes come in, not the ones beforehand. Another reason why I think that they'd have to split it halfway through, because if you're rewarding 1, 2, 5 points right now or something like that, and then midway through a week you go to rewarding 10, 20, and 50, it really can just kind of screw with the result for that week, and that's why I think you'll probably see it in between weeks if I had to guess. Also, and the reason that they cite, it's easy for them to use things like the difficulty modifier, which I'll talk about right here, that will reduce your score depending on various situations. And when you have numbers, that are a factor of 10, it's much easier to reduce them nicely without getting into really wacky numbers and scores with all sorts of decimals and things like that. So the difficulty let's try that again. The difficulty modifier is basically something, here's the equation, that is calculated per empire and based on the enemy percentage of the population cap. It's intended to address the facts of both population imbalance and the off-peak and ghost capping that we saw up there. Basically just means if there's more enemies on the continent, that's a greater challenge, and therefore you get more potential points. If you're outnumbered, you'll be earning more points for captures and holds than the highest pop empire would be for outnumbering you. Like I said earlier, peak time's also going to be worth more potential points, just for obvious reasons, more enemies on more continents than you would during off-peak hours. There's also the Top Dog bounty, which is something I didn't even think of that I think is a pretty good idea, where territory belonging to the Empire with the highest score for the event will be worth significantly more capture points. So not only do you have territory belonging to the enemy with the highest population essentially being worth more to the underdogs, but territory belonging to the Empire who is currently leading the event, like TR for instance, this goes back to what I was talking about with attacking the TR at the moment. No offense, TR, just saying. This is another way where it'll be worth significantly more capture points, they say, to allow the lower scoring empires to catch back up as well. And this is, another thing that we talked about earlier, about territory value increasing with the time that it's held, and this is a little bit more specific about it. Each hour that it's held, it will increase slightly, both in the capture and the hold value. So the empire holding it will get more points for it, and an empire that captures it will get more points for it. But I don't think they actually said what the rates are going to look like. And Malorn said that this is essentially an hourly compound interest being applied to the original value. So I think that makes sense. And he said that there's a limit on it, so it won't be wildly disproportionate. I think that's a good idea, because if there was, you'd see some outfits and whatnot just like hunkering down in something for days, and all of a sudden it's worth some exponential value where those 1 or 2 hexes are just like worth more than anything else. So the limit definitely makes sense, but I think it's a good idea still to add some additional encouragement, because right now the actions that you have to take, that actually add up, the ghost capping, the abandonment of certain bases for others, things like that, they kind of undermine the intent of the whole event. And I think that I was really surprised with how many changes they have planned for it, and I think that it's definitely going to look really, really good after all of this is in. If not for the preseason, then certainly for future seasons. There's also just a couple more points that he mentioned. You can see the excitement of other posters down there. World domination points are going to be awarded for winning alerts, which is something that's a little bit interesting. And these are intended to make alerts relevant for the WDS instead of them being a conflicting goal, which I think that makes sense. Right now, you wouldn't necessarily want to participate in an alert if you could just go ghost cap a continent that isn't, on the alert, especially since they occur during off-peak hours. And I think that that's a pretty good idea. I think that they'll have to monitor it closely, depending on how many points it's going to be worth and things like that, so that this doesn't become the new way of kind of ghost capping, if you will, especially since they said more points for dominating victories. If an alert occurs in the middle of the night and one empire has 50% population, if they just win the alert instantly with a dominating victory, you want to make sure that they don't get too many points for the WDS, considering they didn't actually do a whole lot to accomplish that. So that's just something else to keep in mind. A lot of these scoring changes didn't really give you exact values on how they're going to play into it, so that's just something for the devs to figure out, I think. I'm pretty sure they know the challenges and the concerns, and I'm sure they'll figure out something that works. It seems like they put a lot of effort into this amidst the optimization and things like that are going on, and I think they'll have a pretty good setup for it. So weekly challenges, I don't think we're really going to see them in the preseason. It says that they may try out a few of these. I know originally the plan was just to use capture and hold, but this is just to give you guys an idea of how the events will get mixed up in the future, be it for other seasons or maybe, like I said, even trying a few out in the preseason. And this is just some of the ideas that they're considering, as opposed to capture and holding territory, which is a little bit more interesting. I like this one, Esamir and Amarish Madness. Scoring on a specific continent will be worth significantly more points. For example, Amarish is worth double points during this particular challenge. Alert frequency is also adjusted, so the only alerts you get are on this continent. And the best part, don't worry, we probably won't ever do an Indar one. I like that. Then there's also ones for major facility point values increased, where to go along with that, facility alerts are increased in frequency and continent domination alerts reduced. There's also alert victory point values are increased to have more significant contribution. Territory hold value is increased over time to encourage defending what you already have. as well as the opposite of that, capture value increased to encourage attacking what you don't already have. And then there's just base capture and hold values increased, so there's more points overall earned this week compared to other weeks, and they even said that this might make an interesting challenge for the last week of the season, so we might expect to see that on week 5, just to kind of give people a last-ditch effort to do whatever they can to make up for previous weeks by having this week count more than the other ones respectively. So that's pretty much it, guys. This is a bit of an earlier video today. Like I said, I've got a lot more time. I'm off today, and I will be streaming for most of the day, most likely. So be sure to check out ItZMuRdA.com or twitch.tv/ItZMuRdA_TV. Hit that follow button. Check out the stream. Scroll down. There's a bunch of other useful links back here to YouTube, as well as other social media and the recruit link and tons of information, future crew, all sorts of things PlanetSide related. So be sure to check that out. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Let me know what you think about the changes to the WDS. Be sure to check out this post too. I'll link it, as well as the replies to this post. So yeah, I'm really excited about it. I think that they took basically all of our suggestions, found ways to implement them that will work, and then added on top of that. And this turns into a completely different event that is actually anybody's game at this point still. So I think it's pretty cool. Let me know what you guys think. And hopefully we'll be seeing some of this stuff in the really near future. Alright guys, have a good one. See you soon.